Yo, what is going on, guys? Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on The Flash Season 7. And this will be my video going over various different Flash Season 7 theories, and I'll pretty much just be talking about them for this video. So, as you guys know, I made some various different Flash Season 7 theories on this channel, and you guys seem to have really enjoyed the ones I made. So I came up with this video idea to do where I essentially take my top 5 theories, I basically rank them and tell you guys how possible it is that we'll actually see this happen or not. However, one of these in the list isn't something I made, it's more of a fan theory, but I still just chose to include it. But before I go over anything, however, you guys don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. Okay, so let's go over this list, starting with number 5. So at number 5 spot, I put in the new Reverse Flash and the Reverse Flash cliffhanger. Now, this isn't my theory, this is more of a fan theory than it is my theory, although I have talked about it a lot in my other videos. But obviously we were supposed to get that Reverse Flash cliffhanger for the original season finale for The Flash Season 6. But thanks to the pandemic, we never really got to see that because the season got cut short. Now, obviously in Season 7, we are still supposed to see this cliffhanger sometime between like episode 3. However, the thing with this is it will be really random if we just get a cliffhanger out of nowhere from the 3rd episode of this season, because the last 3 episodes that got cut short from Season 6, for those who didn't know, are now part of Season 7. So having a cliffhanger in the 3rd episode will just be so random. So whether they will change it up and put this cliffhanger in the mid-season finale or even the season finale for Season 7, I don't know about that. But essentially, when we last saw the Reverse Flash, he was obviously taking over Nash's body as he needs a host for a body to take over, since Nash is the only current Harrison Wells left in the multiverse. So the only reason Eobarthon isn't really gone is because the negative Speed Force was technically shielding him from timeline changes and various other things like that. So obviously we had Team Flash going for the rescue, which forced Eobarthon to leave Nash's body and go on for a look for another host. Now, another storyline we're supposed to explore in the near future is the story with Bloodwork and his long game. So the theory behind this is that Reverse Flash will end up in Argus somehow, and he will find Ramsey Rosso and he will take up the body of Ramsey Rosso, aka Bloodwork, and he will become the villain known as Red Death. And obviously the Flash TV show doesn't have the rights to use Batman, so they will have to change it up for the show, and I think this will be the best way to go. Having Bloodwork and Speedster powers, I think that's the way to do Red Death for the show. But I really love this theory and I hope it does happen, because I think Senthil Ramamurthy is a great actor. He crushed it with Bloodwork, and although he may not be as good as Tom Cavanaugh in the role of the Reverse Flash, I'm still sure he will knock it out of the park. In terms of how likely this theory is, I think it's pretty likely to happen. It's not highly likely, it's like a 50-50 chance that this could happen, but I really do like this theory. But moving on to number 4, I have the returning Speedsters. So obviously earlier this week, we obviously got the reveal that Jay Garrick would be coming back for The Flash Season 7. But another thing we had revealed was that The Flash Season 7 was going to be heavily Speedster focused, through not only just good Speedsters, but bad Speedsters as well. And they will really dive deep into the Speedster mythology, which is just very exciting and something we haven't had in a while, since like Season 3. Now, one major thing we will be getting from The Flash Season 7 is obviously the 150th episode of The Flash, which will be episode 17 of Season 7, I think, according to my maths. Now, yes, it's not as big as like a 100th episode special or a 200 episode special, but a 150th episode for a show is a huge milestone. We will definitely be getting some sort of new storyline, or like a cool storyline to explore. So maybe in this episode we can get returning heroes such as Wally West, Jay Garrick, and maybe other Speedsters that we haven't seen in a while as well, and get some villains returning as well, such as maybe Zoom, Reverse Flash, and the other villain speedsters as well. And we could have this cool massive speedster battle, which would just be insane, as it is something we haven't had at all, having these like different speedster heroes and villains just facing off each other. It would be really cool to see, because for these types of episodes they do tend to reflect on previous seasons, so they're gonna try and pay homage to previous seasons as best as they can, which is why I mentioned this over the theory I did in my last video, where the Flash, Jay Garrick and Kid Flash would just face off the Red Death version of Reverse Flash that we will be getting, or we may be getting. And yes, although that does sound more likely to happen, I do think there's a high possibility that we could get these returning villains to come back, because as I said, it's a special episode, it's a 150th episode, so really anything is possible with those types of episodes. But moving on to number 3, the consequences of the new Speed Force. Now for this, I did split this into 2 categories, because I do have another Speed Force 1 that I'm going to mention as another point, but for this one, this is just dealing with the problems that this new Speed Force will cause, whilst the other one will just be more theorizing about the Speed Force in general. So from a superhero TV show, not everything we will get will always turn out to be a positive result. As we found out many times in this show specifically, there are often consequences involved whenever Barry messes with something, for example, Flashpoint. So with the introduction of this new Speed Force, I'm theorizing the same thing. It's not going to be always a happy ending. Barry gets his speed back and that's it. No, I don't think that's going to happen. The show will definitely want to explore new storylines with this, because it's a totally new addition to the show. It's something we've never had at all, and it's a big deal. Now what I think will happen is that when Barry gets his speed back, obviously they're not just going to make it all like, end well. So I won't be surprised if this new Speed Force also affects other certain people and potentially creates new metahumans as well for us to see. Who knows? And this will allow us to have new villains of the week to be introduced as well, which could be really cool. Because from the Flash Season 7 trailer, we do get a couple of shots which could be linked to an accident potentially happening. So we do have this shot with Allegra trying to contain this sphere as it looks like it's about to explode, and Barry actually dives in for the rescue and saves Allegra. Now in the trailer we do also get another shot, I think earlier on, where Chester, Nash and Allegra look like they're in a state of shock, so clearly something bad has happened. So over here I'm thinking not only did Barry get hit by something, but maybe other people did as well. Maybe it went outside the Star Labs and attacked other people as well. Who knows? So although our Scarlet Speedster gets his powers back, I think there should be consequences towards this as well, whether he creates these new types of villains or something along those lines. But going on to number 2, I have just listed the new Speed Force. As I said, this is the part 2 of this new Speed Force thing that I talked about in number 3. Now, the thing I've been theorizing for a while now was that Barry would be getting his speed back in episode 1 of season 7, and that's through a shot that we had in the trailer where Barry is running through the corridors of, I believe so, Star Labs. As he runs, it looks like he was just losing hope, he was giving up, and you do see like he looks like to be crying as well, that he wouldn't be able to save this plane because he's basically powerless at this point. So maybe this is when the artificial Speed Force really start to kick in, and as Barry runs we'll get these like jolts of lightning starting to spark, and as Barry runs obviously he's going to get his speed back, and then we will see him save the plane. That's what I think will happen. But also with this new artificial Speed Force, obviously they're going to have to do certain things which makes the original dead Speed Force and this new Speed Force differ between each other. So they should do something where maybe Barry with this new Speed Force gets some newer certain abilities that we've never seen before, or maybe loses some abilities that he had from the old Speed Force. As I said, just to show that little bit difference between the two Speed Forces. And another thing they should also do is make some changes with Barry's speed. Now I would say he should become a lot faster than he previously was, saying that this artificial Speed Force is something that he physically made, so there's really no saying that Barry cannot tap into it to its fullest extent. But that would make the Flash way too overpowered if he's been even faster than he previously ever was. So who knows what they will do in terms of Barry's speed with this new Speed Force. But going on to number 1, I'm sure you guys are not surprised seeing this at number 1 spot, but that is Eddie Thawne as Godspeed. So I've been saying this for ages, and I'm going to keep mentioning this theory until I'm proven fully wrong. Now, we obviously know that Godspeed will be our main villain for The Flash Season 7. However, we also know that Eric Wallace is making some tweaks and changes to this character to make him have more of a personal connection and a rivalry to the Flash, because in the comics he really doesn't have that big of a rivalry and he's not that interesting in the comics. So obviously Eric Wallace, as we know, he's going to be making tweaks and changes with this character to fit a rivalry. And this personal connection does make sense, because surely the only reason why Godspeed's obsessed with the Flash, it just can't be that he wants infinite velocity. There's got to be more of a reason to his hatred for Barry. And I know I'm repetitively saying this, but it just sounds so accurate. I don't see how this will go wrong. But there is actually further evidence showing that Godspeed could indeed be Eddie Thawne. And in order to do that, from like the past couple of videos of Eddie Thawne Godspeed that I did, I will reiterate into the Flash Season 7 synopsis. So it says, the Flash will ultimately defeat Mirror Master, but in doing so he'll unleash an even more powerful and devastating threat on Central City, one that threatens to tear his team and his marriage apart. So from the Flash Season 7 synopsis I just read out to you guys, you can see that it very specifically mentions that the villain, that obviously being Godspeed, would not only tear up Team Flash apart, but would also tear his marriage with Iris apart. And the fact that it very specifically mentions Barry's marriage to Iris shows the personal connection that the villain will have to Barry and Iris's marriage. And there's only one person who can really get into the way of that, and that is Iris's ex, Eddie Thawne. And one motivation that they could explore with Eddie Thawne is this. So we know that the Flash was basically praised by the things Eddie did in Season 1, or in Eddie's point of view it could be like that. So Eddie was literally the hero of Central City, as he killed himself to basically save Barry and the others. And despite that, the Flash was basically praised by being the real hero of Central City, and he was always the one being remembered. But Eddie Thawne, on the other hand, he sacrificed himself to save the ones that he loved. But unlike the Flash, Eddie was forgotten about. The Flash was like a big hero. He literally got his own award in Season 2, whereas Eddie Thawne, he was forgotten about. He's now a ghost. So they would obviously explain how he's still alive and how he's given Speedster abilities, but also the fact that this quote-unquote fraud basically took all the credit would just anger Eddie. But worst of all, he finds out that Barry took Iris as well, which is pretty much the remaining stuff that Eddie once had. So this would anger Eddie to a point where it forces him to put on a specific white suit and slowly start taking his revenge. And it won't be too hard because he knows where to start. He knows that Barry Allen is the Flash, which is how we saw these various Godspeeds attack Star Labs, because he knows that Barry Allen is the Flash. He knows where he operates as well. And the way that the Flash Season 7 synopsis just ties in with all of this is just so perfect. I don't see how this theory could go wrong. Eddie as Godspeed in return would slowly start to tear Team Flash apart, and once he's done that, he will tear up the marriage of Barry and Iris, which wouldn't be too hard because, as we remember, Iris would have been out of the Mirrorverse recently, so her mind would have still been warped by the Mirrorverse at some point, and eventually isolate Barry and then slowly break him until he reveals his shocking identity right to his face as Eddie Thawne. I just think that would be so cool. Despite the cobalt blue stuff that everyone wants to see, I think this would be a really cool storyline to explore as well. So that could be a very interesting motivation to explore with Godspeed, and as I said before, it explains how Godspeed knows that Barry is the Flash. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Tell me in the comment section down below what you guys think about these various theories that I shared with you guys. And also be sure to tell me how possible you guys think that this theory will be as well. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.